Boxing Ego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. 1. Eddie Hearn gives an update on the Joshua Wilder situation. Stay tuned. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the Super Chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. Shout out to IFL TV, link in the description. Eddie Hearn did a video today where he updated the fans on the latest in the Joshua versus Wilder negotiations / send Wilder a contract saga. Link in the description. I'm going to paraphrase because I didn't write down the actual quotes or whatnot, but I remember what was said. And the crazy thing is, this is becoming laughable at this point. If you watch the first, I want to say 3 minutes of this interview, right? First 3 minutes, there's already something that I found that Eddie Hearn said that was already kind of like a contradiction to what has been said from a lot of the pro-Joshua fans. For example, the question was, what's the latest with the contract? Wilder says he'll come to the UK. He agreed to the terms that you set forth. You declined his $50 million offer to come to the States. You improved your offer, and as a result, he is down to come to the UK and accepted your counter offer to come to the UK. What's the latest? And Eddie Hearn says something to the effect of, we're just drafting up a contract. Maybe today, by the latest, by the end of tomorrow, the contract will be sent to Wilder's team, right? And what the fans, I distinctly remember fans saying, is that Wilder's team, when they made an offer, they should have sent the contract first. And I did videos, New Media, Ego's Army, did videos talking about that. And I said, you have to agree to the principle of the deal first. I mean, this is just standard business. And the reason I know is not that I'm a boxing promoter. However, I've sold things in the public free market, like Craigslist. I've sold my old MacBook Pro when I upgraded and got a new laptop, right? Things like that. So if I have the MacBook listed on Craigslist for $500, someone can solicit me, they can ask questions, but they know the price point. If they said, hey, I'll give you $50 and a cheeseburger, then I'm not going to even meet up with them or waste my time meeting up with them, because that's a no-go. I'm trying to sell it for $500 and you're trying to offer me a cheeseburger and $50, right? So when Wilder sent the $50 million offer, Eddie Hearn seemed to have a bunch of questions like, oh, is the money real? Which to this date, I still haven't seen anyone confirm that the money would not be available. In fact, they have made it sound like it is available. Because at the end of the day, it would have come out right now. If you didn't think the money was real, that would be the easiest thing for Joshua's team to decline the fight, saying, hey, they played us. The money's really not available. It's monopoly money. It's all fake. They don't have the money. You know what I mean? And then that would make Team Wilder look terrible. But just like Wilder's been saying, the money's in the bag, the money's all there. And then it was another reason why the fight couldn't take place with the amount of money that Anthony Joshua asked for, which was $50 million. Now it's because they don't want to fight in the United States. They'd rather fight the first fight in the UK because Joshua has built something big there and he's the A side. And if Wilder beats him, then they can come to America. But that wasn't what was said in the IFL TV interview where Joshua said, hey, $100 million fight, $50 million, tell him, give me 50% right now, 50-50. Do $50 million right now, take the fight tomorrow. That's what he said, right? But you can watch the first 3 minutes of this particular interview, and Eddie Hearn says something where he almost kind of told on himself. The reporters asking, they said, so basically the financials is the big talking point, I guess you could say. And once that's agreed upon, you send the contract. And Eddie Hearn kind of stalled on the question. He was like, yeah, kinda. Yeah, so yeah, you would think, basically, which again does not lend credence to what the fans were saying. The fans were saying that Team Wilder, they were faking. It was 50 million was a fake offer. Then Team Joshua's side confirmed they got an email, right? No one's ever been able to prove that the funds weren't available. In addition, the fans were saying that you were supposed to send a contract. So what Eddie Hearn said in the first 3 minutes of this interview already has me perplexed because it doesn't make sense. Because Shelly Finkel noted this. He says, I worked with Joshua. I worked with Joshua on the Klitschko fight, right? I worked when you tried to make the Dillian White fight, etc. And he listed all these fights. And he says basically what Eddie Hearn is now saying is Eddie Hearn says in this interview that the deal is agreed. They agree with the financials. We don't know if they'll agree when it comes to the terms, but our terms are reasonable and it's nothing out of the ordinary, right? So when Wilder's team came up with the money, that's proof right then and there. That's how business is done in the boxing world. Because it's the same situation. Deontay Wilder offered you $50 million. He says, I will send you the terms and send you the contract if you agree to the amount of money you asked for. So the reporters, I think, need to start examining these types of things. What is the difference? Like, I want to know from Eddie Hearn, what is the difference between how Wilder's team offered $50 million and you said, hey, give us more details before we commit to the $50 million, the financial part. But now you're doing an interview and you're saying $50 million or whatever counter offer that you sent Wilder. They took that and agreed. Wilder publicly put it on his Instagram social media. Shelly Finkel confirmed it with ESPN, says our side agrees to come to the UK and we agreed to the principal basis of the deal, the amount of money, the split, which I told you in past videos is generally the hardest part. You look at Canelo versus Golovkin, which was announced yesterday. The biggest bridge to cross was Golovkin felt he was getting played. He felt, I'm the undefeated fighter. I believe I beat you in the first fight. I'm the champion. I have more belts than you. I have all belts except for 2 now because he just got stripped of 1 and Billy Joe Saunders as the other. And I want more money. That was the issue. 42.5%, 30%, 35%. He was trying to get more money, a higher split, what he felt he was worth. So this is just not a good look for Team Joshua because a lot of the fans really rode with these types of things and these statements like, oh, we got to see the contract first. But you see now Deontay Wilder is steadily willing to do what Joshua's side is not willing to do, right? That's just a fact. When it comes to fighting on the enemy's turf, Wilder is willing to go to the UK versus Joshua is telling you even for $50 million, the money is not all that. I want to fight in the UK so the fans can witness it, right? I don't want to have to deal with shady judges or referees. I know how they play games and stuff, right? So Wilder's willing to risk that, right? Wilder's willing, his side is willing to agree to the financial terms, which is usually the biggest point that creates dissension in a contract, right? Of a fight this magnitude. He's willing to agree and then have you forward the full drafted contract. But Joshua's side wasn't. They never said, hey, we accept the $50 million, come to England, come to the USA with no rematch clause in between these dates. They didn't want to agree to that. So it's like they're bouncing around. But just go watch the interview. And like I said, all these issues, we've called it true and as honest as possible. Make this make sense. How is it that Wilder can agree in principle to the basis of the deal, the outline? Obviously, if Eddie Hearn tomorrow sends a contract or Matchroom sends a contract and it says all this crazy stuff, you got to cut your hair and you got to break up with your girlfriend in these crazy demands, then obviously we're not going to have a fight. And in this interview, another thing I noticed is Eddie Hearn is steadily trying to pass the buck and blame Deontay Wilder's side. Oh, they took too long and we wanted to fight in September. Joshua wants to box. What's the big deal with September? You know what I mean? What's so major that Joshua has to box in September? And he's saying in this interview, if he doesn't box in September, then he'd have to make the Wilder fight in October or November. And he keeps reverting back to the Povetkin fight. Oh, that's a good fight. That's a dangerous fight. So bottom line, I mean, to cut to the chase, it sounds like they want to fight Povetkin next. Like I've said before, if something changes, I'll update you. But that's the way I see it. You know what I mean? Instead of beating around the bush, it sounds like they want to fight Povetkin next. Because every time it comes to Wilder, it's they keep trying to pass the buck and say, oh, if Wilder doesn't agree to the terms, I mean, we only have 10, 11 weeks, and Canelo versus Triple G got announced, and Povetkin's a good fight. So, I mean, read between the lines. If Wilder and Joshua fight next, I will give you guys the updates on my channel like I always do. But it looks like it's going to be Povetkin. They're trying to blame Wilder. And see, you guys got to understand, Povetkin was supposed to be the backup plan. So if you really and truly wanted to fight Wilder next, as Anthony Joshua has stated when he did that interview in the car, in the passenger seat, if he really wanted to fight Wilder, then why wouldn't you have everything, all systems go, a contract? All you have to do is really print it out and leave the blank spots and stuff like that. You know the offer, so why wouldn't you prep it? If you knew you were in a crunch for time, why wouldn't you prep everything as much as you can just in case they do get back to you? Instead of waiting until they get back to you and say, oh, you took 4 weeks to get back to us, so I don't know. And then not being ready and not being able to pull the trigger. So that's my thoughts on the situation. But once again, more loopholes. Again, how is it that Wilder is able to get the basis of the deal, the financial part squared away, the location of the fight squared away, agree to it and say, hey, draft us a contract. Then they look over the fine print, make sure all the additional details and decisions make sense, and then we have a fight. But when it came to Wilder's side offering $50 million, for some reason they needed a contract printed right then and there and all types of stuff. So to me, the way I see it, it sounds like Eddie Hearn wants to fight Povetkin. Joshua wants to fight Povetkin next. And that's just the reality of the situation. He also talked about putting this fight on DAZN, and this I really thought was a pay-per-view fight, so I don't really see it going on DAZN, especially since I don't even know who's on the DAZN network or streaming app. I don't know how to get it on my phone. The official press release or whatever from DAZN has not occurred yet. So how are you going to fight someone in September or October, a fight of this magnitude, and put it on DAZN? So that's the latest. Go watch the interview. More inconsistencies and jumping around. They're making it seem like they want to fight Wilder next, Eddie Hearn is, but then it sounds like a non-stop, constant problem. Oh, Wilder took too long to get back to us. But how is it that Povetkin is ready to go? You know what I mean? If you if you want to fight a guy next, how is it that Povetkin, because he agreed? So, okay, Wilder's agreeing now. You haven't announced the Povetkin fight. So it's not like Wilder waited till you announced like they just announced Joseph Parker versus Dillian White. It's not like the day that happened they announced Joshua versus Povetkin and then Wilder came trailing behind like, hey, guess what? I want to fight you next. So how is it you have enough time, just enough time for the Povetkin fight and for that to be formalized and announced and come into fruition? But for the Wilder fight, you're saying, oh, we don't have time to build it up and stuff. I don't believe it. I don't believe it one bit, because the fight's already been built up. It's already been built up, especially more than Povetkin, because Povetkin disappeared for a minute because he failed drug tests and stuff like that. So more people are ready-made for Joshua Wilder and willing to pay their hard-earned dollar for that fight than the Povetkin fight. I'm not saying Povetkin Joshua is a terrible fight or can't do good numbers, but you know what the fans want, because that's what every interview is asking. Listen, this is a clear indication of what the fans want. If Joshua and Wilder can't get through one interview, no matter if it's a YouTuber, if it's Showtime, if it's Sky Sports, not one big interviewer interviews these guys where they don't mention the other person. If they're interviewing AJ, they bring up Wilder. If they're interviewing Wilder on Showtime, they ask him about Anthony Joshua and unifying. You know what I mean? And Povetkin, if anything, is an afterthought. I don't see Showtime interviewing Wilder, and each time they interview him now, Brian Custer's asking about Wilder versus Brazil, or what are his thoughts on Joshua Povetkin. You know what I'm saying? So we already know what time it is. Watch the video, the interview. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Make sure you smash the like button as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button. And you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.